While I was arranging the bridal suite, I found a black lace thong wedged between the mattress and the headboard. I froze. That scrap of lace wasn't mine. I dialed Shane, who was supposedly working late, even though I knew he never picked up during overtime. The call connected faster than I expected. "Sorry, it's probably mine. Just throw it away." The voice belonged to Sienna, his secretary. I dropped the thong in the trash. That's when I knew Shane and I were finished. "Hello, Shane. Care to explain what I just found in our bed?" I massaged my temples, fighting to keep my voice flat, swallowing the scream building in my throat. A thick, guilty silence answered me, just when I thought I'd rendered him speechless. A bright, unmistakably young female voice cut in. "Sorry, it's probably mine. Just toss it." I recognized it instantly. Sienna, Shane's secretary. My heart plummeted. "Put Shane on." She hesitated, glanced somewhere off camera, and let a tiny, triumphant lilt creep in. "He's burning the midnight oil. Want me to take a message?" Before I could answer, Shane's familiar baritone rang out in the background. "Sienna, hand me my bathrobe." My whole body locked. The phone nearly slipped. I opened my mouth to roar. The line went dead, leaving me stranded in red ribbon silence. I stared at the lace in my hand, then at the bridal suite washed in crimson decorations. A sour cocktail of fury and disbelief flooding my chest. I pitched the thong into the wastebasket. Hard. Tomorrow was our wedding day, and he was in a hotel room with his secretary. What the hell was he thinking? I inhaled sharply and texted, "Shane, wedding's off. I'm not marrying you." Then I started packing. This apartment had felt like home an hour ago. Now it felt like a bad joke. I was astonished how little I'd accumulated. One suitcase held every souvenir of 6 years. Dragging it behind me, I took one last look at the festive, grotesque room, letting tears hover on my lashes but not fall. Of course it hurt. What girl doesn't dream of her wedding? But dreams were pointless now. Back at my old condo, I powered my phone down and drowned the world outside. I opened a bottle of wine and drank alone until the alcohol wrapped my brain in gauze and the pain numbed. I fell asleep on the couch. Morning came with a hammering doorbell and a skull-splitting headache. I opened the door to Shane in his perfectly tailored tux, the one we'd chosen together. It still fit like a catalog photo, and it still made me sick. He took in my bed head, my yesterday's t-shirt, my makeup-free face, and scowled. "Tess, what kind of stunt is this?" The shout cleared some of the fog. I squinted. "Stunt? Do you have any idea how embarrassed I was today?" He barked. Each word detonated inside my temples. Better a little embarrassment now than a lifetime train wreck. He gaped, apparently shocked I'd answer back. "You're calling our marriage a train wreck? If you felt that way, why wait until the 11th hour? This isn't hopscotch." I snorted at the volume. "Keep yelling. The neighbors love reality TV." "Tess, am I the one making life chaotic? Your little sleepover with Sienna doesn't need a spoiler alert." "Shane, have the decency to keep your voice down." Color drained from his cheeks. His gaze skittered anywhere but me. "We'll talk later. Right now the guests are waiting. Mom and Dad are mortified. Let's finish the ceremony." "Not happening." I tried to shut the door. He jammed his hand against the jamb. "They just want to speak to you, face to face." Hearing him invoke his parents twice pricked my conscience. Shaw and Shaw had always treated me like a daughter. Today's no-show was a slap at them. Not just him. He didn't deserve my loyalty, but they did. "Fine. Give me 5 minutes." I slammed the door anyway, washed up, and emerged to find him seething silently. By the time we reached the grand, the ballroom was deserted except for a handful of Shaw relatives. The moment I walked in, aunties swarmed. "Tess, child, marriage isn't a game. You can't cancel on a whim. Everyone's talking. How could you do this to the family?" "Enough." Shaw raised a calming hand and steered us toward a private dining room away from prying eyes. Inside, Shaw jumped up the second he spotted me. "Tess, sweetheart." We were frantic. "Phone's off. What happened?" "Whatever the problem, we can fix it." Shaw patted the chair beside her. "Sweetheart, talk to us. You're practically our daughter. Speak your mind." Looking at their worried faces doubled my guilt. But my decision was granite. I shook my head. "It isn't the wedding itself." My gaze slid to Shane, who sat stone-faced. Shaw read the room and sighed. "Shane, what did you do?" "Like I could ever upset her," he muttered, neck stiff, since he wouldn't confess. I opened my mouth, only to be cut off by a knock. The door swung in without invitation. Sienna sashayed in, gift bags swinging, sequin dress flashing under the chandeliers. She spoke before looking. "Mr. and Shaw, sorry I'm lost. Congratulations to Shane on his big." She froze when she saw me. "Oh, hi, Tess. Didn't expect you here." The irony tasted metallic. "I lived in this story. Where else should I be? On the sidelines." She stepped closer, and my stomach lurched. A slim platinum band glittered on her left ring finger. I cut my eyes to Shane. Sure enough, an identical ring glinted on his hand. The universe wasn't subtle. My groom and his secretary were wearing matching rings at my wedding. No wonder he ducked every conversation about the wedding bands. If I'd been clueless, he would have had to yank that thing off mid-ceremony. How exhausting. Was this supposed to be my wedding to Shane? Or Sienna's? I bit back the rage surging in my chest and said nothing. Shaw sensed the shift in the air and hurriedly urged us to eat, insisting we could settle any problems after we'd filled our stomachs. I'd planned to state my piece and leave, but guilt over making a scene in front of Shaw glued me to the chair, so we all sat, waiting for the first course to arrive. Once every plate was in place, Shaw busied herself heaping food in front of me. She didn't press me about why I'd vanished from the ceremony. She just kept the chatter bright and constant. Tess, try this. It's delicious. It's the chef's signature. Want me to peel the shrimp for you? I murmured a thank you, declined the help, and couldn't stop my eyes from flicking to Shane. He and Sienna were shoulder to shoulder, talking like old friends who hadn't seen each other in years. Their faces now warm instead of frosty. Sienna glowed with fake tenderness, acting as if neither set of parents, nor the bride, were in the room. I saw Shaw nudge Shane with an elbow. Only then did he realize he'd gone too far. Reluctantly, he turned and dropped a crab in my bowl. I stared at the shell, then at him, a wave of exhaustion washing over me. It was that time of the month. Crab was the last thing I should eat, but he clearly hadn't remembered. Without a word, I pushed the crab aside. The gesture didn't escape Shaw. Both parents glanced at Shane. Sienna's bowl, meanwhile, had become a small mountain, and he was still shelling shrimp for her. Apparently, the shrimp were never meant for me. I'd had enough play acting. I wiped my mouth, stood, and spoke before anyone could stop me. Sorry, but I'm done eating. Shane and I are officially over. I'll split every wedding bill with him 50-50. You just call it off like that? The instant the words left my mouth, Shane's eyes narrowed, glaring. Before he could go on, Sienna jumped up, face twisted in exaggerated panic. What's wrong, sis? Why cancel? There must be some misunderstanding. Her act turned my stomach. I stepped closer, looked straight into her eyes, and spoke. Ice cold. Really? You have no clue why I'm calling off the wedding? A flicker of triumph flashed in her gaze. Then she widened her eyes in mock innocence. What are you talking about? How would I know? Smack. I swung, landing a slap across her cheek. Cut the innocent act. Tess, are you insane? Shane surged forward, shielding her. Tears welled in Sienna's eyes. She let out a soft sob. How could you hit me? Seeing her cry, Shane took another furious step. Tess, you've lost your mind. No matter what, you can't just, enough. Shane, Shaw barked, yanking him back. Shaw quickly turned to Sienna. Sienna, step outside please. This is family business. Secretary or friend, you shouldn't be here for it. Sienna looked from one Shaw to the other, stamped her foot, and stormed out. Shane wasn't finished. Tess, quite the stunt. Hitting my secretary. First you ditch the altar, now you throw punches. Thank heaven I didn't marry a shrew like you. Whoever lands you is cursed for 8 lifetimes. Shane, shut it. Shaw thundered, but Shane ranted on. I wouldn't marry you now if you begged. I almost laughed. If that was his tune, I saw no reason to spare him. Still think I want in. Funny. Shane, how you polish your own ego. His eyes bulged. I slammed my palm on the table. Me, please. The unlucky one is whoever marries you. Tell me, which bride digs someone else's lace thing out of the marital bed the night before the wedding? That scrap of lace wasn't mine. Shane, had no clue you played so dirty. You screwed around on our wedding bed. Have you no shame, no conscience? We were getting married the next morning. The room froze. Shane stood slack-jawed. Caught. What are you saying? I gave a bitter laugh while both Shaws stared, stunned. And those late nights at Sterling. Since when do strategy sessions happen in the grand steam room with your assistant handing you a towel? Did you think I didn't know? How did you know? That night I was really working. Halfway through the lie, Shaw cut him off. Smack. Scoundrel. Shaw's hand crashed across Shane's face. She clutched her chest, trembling with fury. My own tears finally rose. Years together, ruined in a heartbeat. Pretending I didn't care would be impossible. Shane thought he'd covered every track. In truth, I'd swallowed disappointment after disappointment for years. Each lipstick smudge on his collar. Every drunken night he came home murmuring the wrong name. He assumed I hadn't noticed. I stayed because I still loved him. Told myself it was just a phase. That we'd never truly fall apart. He gaped, cheek scarlet, rage replacing shame as he stepped toward me. I grabbed my wine and threw it in his face. Then turned to the elders. Mr. and Shaw, I'm sorry. Running away yesterday was wrong, and I never wanted tonight's scene. I owe you an apology. With that I walked out. I yanked open the private dining room door, and nearly collided with Sienna in the corridor. She'd been leaning against a window, smoking. Seeing someone approach, she started to stub the cigarette out. When she realized it was me, she took another lazy drag instead, then looked me up and down. I crossed my arms and waited. She finished the cigarette before speaking, tapping her own cheek, gloating. The slap only makes Shane love me more. Tess, you lost tonight. You'll never climb into the Shaw family tree. For a second I blinked, then burst out laughing. I'm climbing? I echoed. What else? She shot back. I said nothing, only nodded, enlightenment flooding in. So that's why Sienna fought so hard to wreck my engagement. She wanted Shane as her own escalator, his money, his name, his power. To reach that goal, she seduced him non-stop, even planting that lace thing in our bed, gambling that the discovery would flush me out. The scheme was almost funny. She honestly believed shoving me aside would let her step straight into my heels. Naive doesn't cover it. She doesn't know Shane, and she definitely doesn't know the current score. Sienna, you oversimplified the whole game. I delivered the line ice cold, letting contempt drip from every syllable. Without waiting for a comeback, I spun on my heel and left. Next morning I opened my door to find Shane already waiting, apparently loath to ring the bell and disturb me. Gone was yesterday's bluster. Remorse was written across every feature. I arched a brow, but sympathy never had a chance to sprout. Tess, I was out of line last night. Can we talk? Just give me 5 minutes to explain. He practically whispered, every word a plea. I started to slam the door. He threw out a hand to stop it. Please, there's nothing real between Sienna and me. You have to believe that. Do I? I asked, voice flat. By now the answer meant nothing. His tirade yesterday had shown me exactly the man he was. And that man would never be my husband. Honestly, I should be grateful this happened. It let me see the real face of the man who slept beside me. But I was still surprised when Shane apologized. Back when we still had feelings. Every fight ended with me bowing my head first. Shane's pride is titanium plated. Under normal circumstances, he'd rather die than apologize first. Because I loved him. I kept yielding all these years. But I'm not naturally good-tempered either. Now that he senses I'm dead serious about breaking up, he's back to saying sorry. Too late. I can't accept it anymore. Seeing my hand pause on the doorknob, Shane pushed harder. Can't we start over? Tess, I really love you. I want to marry you. We've come this far. Are you really willing to just walk away? What about Sienna? I asked coldly, staring straight into his eyes. Shane froze, then sighed, trying to steer the conversation elsewhere. What does she have to do with this? Just listen. I didn't feel like hearing his plastic lies. I cut to the chase. Spare me that I still have feelings routine. You're scared, Shane. You're terrified I'll yank Sterling's management rights back. So you came crawling. Shane flushed crimson, cornered, yet still stiff-necked. Of course not. What kind of man do you think I am? You're here for Sterling. Period. I spoke icily. Let me spell it out. Shane, we're done. And the moment I walk out this door, I'm going to Sterling to reclaim what's mine. Shane's face drained of color. Why the panic? Don't tell me 2 years of babysitting Sterling have convinced you it's yours. I let out a short, mocking laugh, contempt glittering in my eyes. Watching his stunned expression sent a wicked thrill through me. When my parents died in that accident, I inherited Sterling. I handed it to you because I trusted you. Shane, as for shares, you're just the caretaker. Sterling's real owner is me. Tess. Every word was a needle, every sentence a dart, aimed straight at his pride. With each sentence Shane grew paler. Finally he spoke, voice quivering into a plea. Tess, I really know I messed up. Did you assume I had no temper? I lashed out. You dared keep a side chick. And you dare claim nothing concrete happened. Do you even buy that line? You turned our home into your little stage, right under my nose. Shane's skin mottled red and white. He clenched his teeth, desperate to retort, but words failed. I couldn't stand another second of his self-defense. No sex at the Grand. Who did he think he was kidding? I shoved him aside, marched downstairs, got in the car and drove straight to Sterling. On the way I opened the company WhatsApp and typed into the board group. Meeting, 9:10 a.m. Then I floored it. The instant I stepped through Sterling's doors, there was Sienna in a skin-tight pencil skirt. Seeing me, she assumed I'd come to scream at Shane. She immediately put on her haughty shield. Tess, I underestimated your shamelessness. Coming to Sterling. Do you even belong here? She shrilled, trying to intimidate me. I ignored her and headed for the stairs. She escalated, blocking my path. Stay away from Shane. I'm warning you, she snarled. I shoved her aside and kept climbing in my stilettos. Sienna yelled for security. I didn't break stride. I clicked straight up to the third-floor conference room and flung the glass door open. Shareholders gawked. Security tumbled in after me. Who are you? You can't just... The guard barked. I cut him off by dropping into the chairman's seat. The seat that had always been mine. Sienna arrived, saw me sitting there, and sneered. Who do you think you are? That seat isn't yours, ex-fiancé overstepping much? Shut it. Shane panted, racing in to bark her down. Sienna's face blanked. She turned to Shane, bewildered. Shane. Board members finally collected themselves and addressed me. President Tess. Here in person today? Urgent agenda? Sienna's eyes bulged as if she'd seen a ghost, gaping between me and Shane, unable to process. Only Shane stood there, ashen. I met everyone's gaze and announced without blinking. I called you for one item. Shane is stripped of every title. Effective now. My voice rang. Absolute. A ripple of surprise. Then nods all around. No objections. I smiled thinly at the stunned Sienna and added, Gordon. Notify HR, Sienna is terminated as well. Sterling has no room for employees of questionable character and shady motives. Sienna's shock dissolved into a smirk. She assumed I was bluffing, but before she could speak, Shane's glare sliced her silent. He turned to me, forcing a smile, voice humble. Tess, surely we don't have to go this far. I locked eyes with him, icicles forming. Shane, I'm not joking. You should have thought of this before you got into bed with her. Self-awareness. Please. Managing Sterling for 2 years doesn't make you its king. What I gave, I can take back. Reality finally clicked for Sienna. Sterling wasn't Shane's. She whirled on him. Sterling isn't yours. You lied to me. I didn't lie, Shane muttered, then sighed and faced me for a last plea. Tess, think carefully, reinstate me. Don't torpedo Sterling's future over a moment's pique. I leaned back in the executive chair. Unhesitating, I denied. Shane dropped the act. His face darkened into a threat. I'm a Sterling VP. Do you know how much revenue I've generated? Fire me and watch this place stall. I almost laughed. Chin in hand. I replied, Shane, you seriously think you're irreplaceable? He blinked. Meaning nobody's irreplaceable, including you. In love or in business. I can swap you for someone better in a heartbeat. Understand? I flicked my fingers at security. Escort these 2 non-employees out. The guards, glad for a chance to redeem themselves, jumped to obey. On their way out, Shane and Sienna turned on each other. The sweetheart's now a bickering mess. You told me Sterling was yours, liar. It is. There's just a mix-up. We're both jobless now. So can you drop it, Sienna? Drop it. You lied first. Shut up. If you hadn't pulled that stunt at the wedding, none of this, so it's my fault now? Shut up. Their voices faded down the corridor. I accepted the folder an assistant handed me and flipped to Sterling's latest reports. Pen poised. I tapped project manager Alex. Alex, you're up. Brief me on Sterling's current status. Yes, Tess. Little David answered respectfully, then launched into a detailed report on the project's progress. After that, the other shareholders spoke in turn, giving updates on the projects in their own divisions. I listened patiently, already forming a rough picture in my mind. In the past, I simply hadn't wanted to take charge. It wasn't that I couldn't. I had reclaimed Sterling. I'd once played the hands-off owner because I trusted Shane, but now I had to wade in myself. I just hadn't expected Shane to be so shameless. He actually dared to show up in front of me again. It felt like a repeated assault on my patience. The next morning, the moment I opened my door, there he was, dressed exactly the way he'd been on our first date, evidently waiting a long while. He looked like a college guy, flowers in hand, face full of expectation. When he saw me, he called softly, Ran. For a second I felt dizzy, as if the sunbright, confident, energetic Shane of the past were standing before me. In that instant, it seemed the boy who used to wait for me after class so we could eat and catch a movie was still here. But reality yanked me back. The man I saw now seemed to reek of something indescribable. He only ignited disgust and nausea. I slammed the door shut, locking him out, no matter how sweetly he begged or apologized on the other side. I stayed unmoved. His present behavior only erased the last good memories I had of him. He left in a daze. I drew a deep breath, fighting to steady the turmoil inside. Yet not long after I reached Sterling, my phone rang, Shaw calling. Ran, could you come to Riverdale? I know you're busy. But, Chuan is hurt. He's been admitted to Riverdale, and he says he won't cooperate without you. Shaw's voice carried guilt at disturbing me. Left with no choice, I headed to Riverdale. Once there, I learned what had happened. Apparently, Shane had tracked down Sienna, wanting to take back everything he'd given her to prove his sincerity in apologizing to me. During the argument and tussle, Shane accidentally tumbled down the stairs and was rushed to Riverdale with a mild concussion and a fractured lower leg. I glanced at Shane's pale face on the hospital bed and discussed the treatment plan with Shaw, who then stepped out to fill his prescription. From the moment I arrived, Shane kept trying to talk to me. I ignored every attempt. Then, click-clack of high heels, Sienna herself hurried in, anxious yet laced with some complicated emotion. She didn't even notice me and rushed straight to Shane. Shane, I know I was wrong, but I really do love you. I was just too impulsive. Can you forgive me? Give me one more chance. and agree to a settlement, she pleaded softly. Shane's eyes flickered. He looked at her, then at me, as if weighing something. Finally he inhaled and refused her firmly. No, I refuse. Sienna's face darkened. Suddenly she spun and glared at me, voice dripping with bitterness. It's you, Tess. If you hadn't messed things up, Shane and I would be together by now. Who gives you the right to wreck us? The one who isn't loved is the third wheel. Why are you butting in? Her words were vicious and ridiculous. Laughable. I only gave her a cold stare, then abruptly turned to Shane and asked, Shane, do you even know why you were removed from your position so suddenly? He blinked, then answered in a low voice, it's because of Sienna and me, isn't it? I'm sorry, Ran. His tone still oozed guilt and self-reproach. I acted as if I hadn't heard that apology and shook my head. If that were the sole reason, I'd have fired you the minute I found out. I've always believed that running Sterling is about competence, and you, Shane, are competent. The real reason is that Sienna approached you with ulterior motives. Shane froze. Then his eyes turned bloodshot. He glared at her as if seeing her clearly for the first time and roared. What? You came after me for my power and money at Sterling? His voice shook with shock and rage. Sienna flinched, then frantically explained, No, Shane, believe me, I truly love you, not those other things. Tess, stop trying to drive a wedge between us. Her defense rang hollow. The facts spoke louder. Everything showed she had chased Shane for wealth and authority. Cornered, Sienna suddenly lunged at me, voice shrill with desperation. Tess, don't think you've won. I'll make you pay. I'll kill you. Her sudden madness caught everyone off guard. She whipped out a gleaming switchblade and stabbed at me with lightning speed. Even Shaw froze for a heartbeat before reacting to stop her. I leapt back 2 steps, nimbly dodging the thrust. In the same motion, I grabbed a nearby stool, ready to bring it down to defend myself. But Sienna pressed harder, driving me into a corner. She sneered, blade poised, and my heart lurched. Dodging once didn't guarantee a second time. At that critical instant Shane acted. He snatched his phone and hurled it, striking the back of Sienna's head. She staggered. The knife wavered off target. Seizing the chance, I knocked the switchblade from her hand. We stood off, the air crackling. Just then Shaw burst back in, grabbed Sienna, and barked at her. Together they subdued her. I exhaled in relief and delayed shock. I whipped out my phone and dialed 911. The police arrived promptly and snapped handcuffs on Sienna. Let go of me. Let go. She thrashed, but it was useless. Shane, shaken by the near tragedy, had thrown the phone on pure instinct. Seeing her restrained, he told me, don't worry, Tess. Over the years Sienna secretly siphoned money from Sterling. We'll add that evidence to the prosecution. Sienna stared at him in disbelief, then began begging. No one listened. When pleading failed, she cursed us, all of us this time. Finally the officers led her away. I turned to leave. Ran. Shane called after me, but when I met his eyes he dropped his gaze. Shaw apologized and promised Shane would never appear before me again. I nodded and walked off. It was the last time I ever saw Shane or Sienna. Life grew long and hectic. Sterling ran smoothly under my command, yet managing it was too exhausting, so I hired a reputable, capable executive search firm to find a trustworthy professional to run it for me. I went back to being a hands-off owner and embraced the life of a carefree slacker. Later legal told me Sienna got several years for financial crimes, and the Shaw family had left the city. I paid the news little mind. It was all in the past. I decided to start a new chapter.